messages to all the superior spirits that help guide us along the way. And today, let us give thanks for being here, for having all these wonderful abilities to learn and to practice what we learn. We're also thankful for all this material that helps guide us as parents, and that also helps us understand our own parents better. We ask our spiritual mentors to keep giving us the intuition, to keep guiding us
I have a question.
Be useful for us, and may we take with us something that we can apply in our daily lives. So be it.
So be it.
So be it. Dinosaur. Aqui deixa gelado.
Okay, so I think it's your first day, right?
Yeah.
Então por que
Lupita, right?
Yeah.
So Lupita is your first day. So this whole year, this is month 10, so this is the 10th presentation. So every first Sunday for the whole year, we are talking about the same subject, which is the healthy family relationship.
Okay.
We are speaking particularly about the relationship between parents and their children of all ages.
Okay.
And we had 9 sessions before, so this is the 10th session. And we are actually studying a case, a real case that came to a psychologist's office of a family. So we are analyzing all the situations and how we can improve that, how we can change that situation for the better.
Okay.
So we are going to read the situation again, just to remind us. And then we are going to go through what we have for this week. Or not. Sorry, Victor. Relationship, right? So when consensual, meaning parents and kids agree on things. It is possible, believe it or not. Sounds impossible, but it's possible. So let's analyze a family made up by a couple and 4 kids. The members of the family are the husband, named Alberto, 45 years old, he's a lawyer. The wife, Regina, 43, she's a pharmacist. And the kids are Rogério, 15, Clara, 13, Felipe, 10, and Simone, 5. This is the mother that goes to look for help. Why is it always like my kids embarrassing me?
No.
So
That's our mistake.
So Regina went to the psychologist's office to ask for help. And this is what she's complaining. She's saying every morning is a real drama for our family. Getting the kids, quotes, out of bed to go to school is a hassle. I need to start a real war operation. I start calling them at 5:45. Then I call them again at 6 and again at 6:15. As usual, they only get up when I start yelling that they are all responsible and that they're gonna miss school. I threaten to cut on the sightseeings, to cut the computer on the following weekend. And then they get up. Years old. Does not give me any trouble because she goes to school in the afternoon. Every day is the same thing. I tell them that they can't be like that. That is to control the time that they stay on the computer. We have only one computer for the whole family to use. Well, mind you, this is quite a few years ago. Then she starts complaining about the husband. So when Rogério goes on the internet, no, Rogério is the oldest son, sorry. When Rogério goes on the internet, he only thinks about himself. He wants to stay hours on Orkut, that shows how old this thing is, because now it's Facebook, or on chats talking to his friends. Clara wants the same thing. They fight all the time. Then Felipe comes and wants to play video games on the computer and start to fight with his brother or his sister. It's a living hell, mainly on the weekends when everybody's at home. I don't even have time to look at my emails. They rarely behave well. The only one who is a little more obedient is Felipe. I try to pay him compliment with everybody's attitude, because they only do what they want. Alberto, the husband, doesn't do anything limits to them. Everything is on me. He says that taking care of kids is the mother's responsibility. On weekends, he reads magazines and newspapers for hours, and he doesn't care about the kids. I say that it can't be like that, but it makes no difference. He doesn't change. It looks like they're not even his kids either. It's too much for me. It's too much for me, and my kids are irresponsible. I talk to them, and it's like it comes in one ear and out the other. They just keep fighting. Only when I threaten them, they listen to me for a few minutes, and right after, everything is like it was before. It's a never-ending fight, and I can't stand it anymore. I just feel like disappearing and never coming back. I keep thinking, why did I go for of them? I shouldn't have had any. So we have talked quite a few things here. So we talked about the father who is not present. We talked about quite a few things. So we are actually going to skip to what we're going to see today. So we talked about threatening, that threatening makes no difference. It works for a few minutes, like most of us know. And then it doesn't work anymore.
My mom knows.
Your mom yells?
Mom knows.
Does she say she's going to take your toys away if you don't listen?
No, I listen to her.
Oh, you do?
Sometimes my brother doesn't listen.
Oh, it's only him, I see. Okay, so like giving them, like being a moralist with them doesn't work either, right? So comparing them to their siblings, comparing them to ourselves. When I was your age, I don't know if you heard that. I heard that a lot when I was your age, and I said that a lot too. Oh yeah, so bribing. So when parents promise their children
Regalias, yeah?
Oh, same.
There you go.
Yeah, yes.
Give.
Extra perks.
Yeah, sure.
So that they
Subornos.
so that they actually fulfill a duty. For example, I keep telling my kids, your job is to go to school.
Yes.
Your job is to be a student. So if I promise my kids money in return for good grades, I am actually blackmailing my kids, because it's their duty. Going to school, studying, I'm not saying 10 or 100% is their duty, but going to school and studying is their work, is their duty.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't make sense to give them a gift to do their duty. It's their duty anyway.
Yeah.
Because every time we do that, the message that we're giving them is that they should always expect something in exchange for a duty. And what we need to teach them is everybody has duties. This is one of yours. Go, do it well, and be happy with the results.
Yeah, because I think the key is
I'm done.
they have to grow up with responsibilities.
Exactly.
This is the point.
Exactly.
No,
If we keep giving them gifts for doing something they are supposed to do anyway,
Yeah.
we're not teaching responsibility. We're just teaching them to expect something. Yeah.
I and Lucas, we have an agreement. He almost never does, but if he does, all the activities I put for him, like put the food for the dog, take his bath, and don't complain to go to sleep, brush his teeth, all these, he receives some money at the end of the week. We compensate by day.
But he has $6.
Yes, he has $6 to be able to
Keep saying
to get it. I don't think it's like a bribe, because it's not. It's kind of, he should do it, but it's not.
It's
I
not an
don't know.
obligation. We are just trying to teach how,
Manage
Manage his own
responsibilities and money at the same time,
And to
and see
understand
that
nothing
there's
comes free.
advantage for doing the things he's supposed to do.
But if he's supposed to do those things anyway, would he be doing it without any reward?
No.
If he's supposed, but he's supposed to do it anyway, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
again, I am not telling you how to
Yes.
do it
Yeah.
or not to do it or anything. What we're doing here is just a reflection.
Yeah.
And one thing that Alio says that is, it's something I never thought about. And you know what? I've done the same thing in the past. I have done the same thing in the past. But then, what was the result of my experience? If you're not paying, they won't do it. But hey, stop. You were supposed to do it anyway, right? I am trying to be nice to you. However, what am I teaching, right? Again, every kid's different.
Yeah.
And we know, every parent know what they have at home, right? But one thing that Alito says that is very interesting is that, again, we're not teaching them to fulfill a duty and be proud of fulfilling that duty, right?
Yes.
We're not teaching them to be happy with the fact that they achieved something. It's an achievement. A duty, when you fulfill a duty, it should be an achievement in itself and not expecting a reward. The reward is the achievement, or should be. The reward should be, I don't know if you know this ex Vinci. I came, I saw, I conquered.
Yes, yes.
Like I had a task, seemed like really hard for me to do, and I did it. So that feeling of accomplishment that I get, that is my reward. When it's a duty, right? When it's a duty. When it's like something extra, then it's different. Okay? So, for example, shoveling snow from my front door. That's my kid's duty. However, if they decide to go shovel the neighbors, that's not their duty. So receiving money for that is more than fair.
Yeah.
Because it's work and not duty from home. So do you see the difference?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the difference, very different.
I think probably I'll have to establish with him a weekly money for him anyway, and work for him
To help,
do.
yes, to teach him how to deal with money. Totally understandable. There are so many other things as well. So when I realized that money wasn't working, what did I do? We continue with the, let's keep. So, but not money or not something material. Quality time with the family was the reward. But that's my example, okay? It's nothing that is here, that was just my example. But the difference, and again, Alito says, we can see that in South America a lot. We can see that ingrained in society, right? We only look at the corrupt politicians. But when we do this, we are corrupting our kids. We are teaching our kids that if you're not gonna get anything in return, don't do it. Why would I do something if I don't get anything in return? So it doesn't look like it. To us as parents, we have a good intention of rewarding them, of showing, of saying good job, of teaching them how to deal with money. However, what we're doing is actually correcting them. It's like teaching them to expect something, teaching them that they don't have to do anything if you're getting anything.
Yeah. Yes.
And again, the reward should be the feeling of accomplishment, the feeling of I conquered the task. So it's fundamental that the parents ask themselves, what do I want in my relationship with my child? Do I want to form or to deform their character? Right? When we teach our kids that like fulfilling a duty, finishing a task, because we always have those people who start stuff and never finish, so they don't get the feeling of accomplishment, right? So when we teach them that the reward is the feeling of accomplishment, we are forming their character. When we teach them that if they don't have a reward, they shouldn't even bother doing it, we are deforming their character. We don't realize it until it's too late. Okay, so ways that I can facilitate communication between parents and kids. So this is like brand new. We talked about the blackmailing last time as well. So we start from here. This is the new we're starting on. So we saw all those negative things. So now we're going to see how can we start fixing it? How can we start changing things? Because we don't just snap. Mothers and fathers have that will form the character of their kids, exercising the main function of parenthood is to with God in the formation of our brother or sister in humanity, who is momentarily our child. We talked about this cooperation role in the beginning of the year, because again, parenthood is a mission, and a big one, right? So our kids, right, our momentary kids, first of all, they're not our possession. They don't belong to us. They are a brother or sister in humanity. They are an independent spirit that was entrusted to us, that we accepted to welcome as our child, right? So what are we going to do here? We're going to collaborate. We're going to work with God, forming the character, again, by following the divine laws. We're going to teach them, we're going to show them the path of how to follow the divine. A lifespan, it's not that long. So as parents, we have a certain amount of time where we can influence them. After they become adults, we can always give advice, hopefully good advice, but we can always give advice, but we don't have the same influence that we do when they are younger, right? Even during their teenage years, we already don't have as much influence as we did in the first or second childhood. So our mission is to work with God, forming the character of that spirit who was entrusted to us, right? We are sort of borrowing that spirit to take care of that spirit, and we agreed to do it beforehand. So it's fundamental. So it's fundamental in the development of the loving consensual relationship and to establish the collective consensual decision. So working with our kids is essential because, again, remember the case? The mother threatens this, threatens that. She has to threaten them to get out of bed. She has to threaten them to stop fighting. She has to yell. That is not consensual, right? That's authoritarian. That's one-sided. That's you do as I tell you to do and shut up because you're annoying me, right? How many times have we heard that? How many times have we said that? So it's fundamental that we develop this two-way road. Again, how much each part can contribute will always depend on the age. From 0 to 7, their contribution is obviously very small, but should not be ignored. So one example that we always give, for example, David's only 2.5, but for example, Lucas is 6, so he's still in the first childhood. So Lucas cannot choose if he will take a shower or not, but maybe he can choose if he's gonna take a shower before or after dinner. Right? So there are a few things they can't choose and a few things they can. So how much how much each part's gonna be will depend on the age. Second childhood, they can definitely cooperate more because they understand more, right? They understand abstract ideas more. And then preteens and teens actually should be equally or even more to them than to us if we did a good job in the first and second childhood. Right? If we did, then we're still going to be fighting a good battle. But again, it will always depend on all the work we've done. But both parts should be contributing. Because again, that's what the word consensual means. It means both sides are in agreement. And just about this one still. Just a practical example is, well, we're going to talk about consequences later. But just an example of the difference. I can either just on the law and say, if you don't get up before 6:15, no computer for you on the weekend, and that's it. Or if we sit together and I say, what do you think should happen if you don't get up by 6:15? Do you think it's fair that if you don't do what I need you to do, you should lose a perk or a benefit? Because many times when we're angry, we overdo it. Just because I'm angry, just because I think you made me angry, because nobody makes anybody angry, we get angry on our own. But if we want to blame the child for being angry, we go overboard. And we overdo we actually want to punish the child because you annoyed me. You don't deserve that. But when we sit down and we talk about it and we ask the kids, do you think it's fair? Do you think it's a good balance? You don't do what I need you to do, you lose a perk. What's that perk going to be? Some kids are able to choose the consequence themselves. Some kids are not. And I have both examples at home.
My son tried to choose something he already doesn't like much. He always trying to, well, not.
They try. However, just the exercise of proposing a reflection and showing him that, okay, buddy, no, you gotta meet me in the middle. I'm here, you're there, let's meet in the middle. Just that exercise will teach them the basic concept of actions and consequences. But then again, when it's consensual, it's a lot easier to make the consequences natural instead of overdoing it and actually punishing, right? We're going to talk a bit more about that. So, reflecting our feelings to push our button, like they know exactly what's going to drive you nuts in 5 seconds, and they go right there, right? Like a toothache. Bing! Then we get angry, and we just punish. So, let me try and think of a good example here. Oh yeah, the whole no. It drives me insane to hear no. Gabriel knows that. So the simplest thing, we say, Gabriel, can you please close the door? He goes, no. Just to annoy me. But sometimes they don't realize that something they said or did triggered us to be angry. And then we just start yelling and punishing. And sometimes I have no idea why. So this is where the whole reflecting on your feelings, and it's something that I started doing with them very recently because of this material. The idea here is convey your feelings. We are spirits in evolution. We are gonna feel frustration. We are gonna get mad. We are gonna feel like yelling, right? But expressing your feelings is different from acting on your feelings. Getting angry doesn't mean that I have to yell or that I have to slap my child. I can get angry all I want. It's a natural feeling.
Mm-hmm.
But am I going to act on that feeling?
No.
So there is a big difference there. So telling them, Mom is angry right now. I usually give myself a time off. I'm like, I'm angry right now. I can't talk to you right now, or I'm gonna say something that I don't want to say. So it's different from just going and yelling. So explaining that you are feeling angry, that you're feeling frustrated, that you're feeling that something is unfair, or something like that. So it's sharing the feelings. So just to go back to the case. So if the mother calls her children and explain how she's feeling. She's frustrated because they don't get up at the time they're supposed to. She is angry because they fight for the computer or whatever. If she comes and explains to them that she's feeling like that, and again, let's sit together and think of a solution together, is completely different from the threats that go nowhere, from the yelling, right? Because after a while, that's what happens. It just goes, whoosh. She's just gonna yell again, she's gonna threaten again and whatever.
You know, at this point, I think the problem is that they're gonna be a habit. So first of all, mom gonna be a habit to yelling and to treat them, and then also they're gonna be bad example for the children because they're gonna walk in the same way in the future. And but they're gonna copy from parents, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they copy everything the parents do, they do.
Yes.
So
And we actually
this.
We actually have both cases, right? When they do the same, even when we don't want to do the same, sometimes we still do. So many times I catch myself thinking, oh shoot, my mother used to say that and I hated it. Why am I saying that too? But sometimes we try to be the complete opposite. For example, children from very authoritarian parents tend to be completely relaxed. Like, I don't want to yell at my kid like my parents yelled at me. Yeah, go do whatever you want.
Yeah,
They can miss it.
Yeah, but
So it can go both ways.
But in this case, what you're talking about is the extremes is not right also.
Mm-mm.
Also.
No, because we're not teaching them responsibility.
Because parents don't teach anything to the children. You know how many times we see at the mall, when I go to the mall, and the mom, they cannot control the children. Because not children's fault, it's the parents' fault. Because they cannot educate, they cannot guide the children in proper way. Right? So in this way, you know that punishment is not allowed.
Mm-hmm.
So that work they don't have, you know, and it's at home. If you do at home, you're gonna be in trouble at school, right? So because the children say everything at school.
Mm-hmm.
So this is gonna be problem for parents. This is, you know, this is other topic, right? This is other, yeah. This is I know that happened, but yeah.
I love it because I remember in Brazil, my son one day say, "Oh, my mom." What's Lucas say? My mom beat me with a knife or something.
Yeah, at school.
He said it at school. It never, ever would have happened. But I don't know if you watch it, something. Oh, my mom beat me with a knife, and the teacher the next day come and say, "You know, Lucas said that." And what?
Yeah, well, teachers should know better at this point too, right?
Yes, she,
That not
know,
every-
she
not
was talking to
everything,
me
yeah.
to alert, but
Yeah.
the children here are kind of trained to go to the state school. Oh, mom and dad are beating me at home.
Oh yeah.
You know, like, or they talk with a friend and a friend say, you should tell the teacher, you should tell everyone, your parents can't beat you like that.
In Brazil, this is allowed with the, you know, the
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
no anymore like here.
Well,
Theoretically, it's not
real-
anymore, but it's not what happens in practice.
reality is we shouldn't have to, right?
Yeah.
There shouldn't have to be any body punishment,
Yeah.
right? Okay. In an ideal world, we won't have in the future. So, talking about things relieve internal pressure, and it helps to define perspectives and makes us more receptive about feelings, generates anxiety, tension, and distance. Right? So, if I feel like my mother couldn't care less about how I feel, and this is something that I'm at fault sometimes because we forget what we went through at certain ages, right? So, for example, what is the end of the world for a teenager?
Broken heart.
Means absolutely nothing to me. So it's easy to dismiss the feeling, right? Because we think to ourselves, "Oof, you don't know anything. Wait till you start working. Wait till you have to pay the bills and that kind of thing." But that's not the phase they're in at that moment. So we need, again and again, if we have the dialogue going on, if we actually listen to our children, if we actually listen to what they're feeling without dismissing, without making fun, and trying to remember when we went through that phase, how did it feel? Or if we can't remember, like as young as Sophie and Lucas, for example, maybe we don't remember exactly how we felt, but again, if we think about their capabilities at this moment, it shouldn't be so hard to think that last month we were talking about the virtue of the month was forgiveness. Said, if somebody hurt me physically, if somebody hurt my body. A 14-year-old said, cheating in a relationship. A 7-year-old said, if somebody breaks my favorite toy. A 6-year-old said, if they break my tablet. So we see the difference, right? As we evolve, things start having different values for us, right? We can never expect a 7-year-old to say cheating in a relationship. They don't even know what a relationship is, right? And it's not so hard if we think about their interests, if we think about the things they like to do, they're into, that helps. Yes, sir.
Well, I don't know. There's something about the North America culture in general that I don't like. Is they usually overreact of everything. So Lucas is being here for less than a year, I guess, and I guess just because he started to get in touch with his friends and everything, sometimes I feel like he's getting this kind of stuff reacting. I'm not sure if it's because he's just 6 or
always
if
been
he,
like that. He always overreacts. It's his personality.
I don't know.
The things that hurt him him a lot. That's it.
He's intense.
But it's also strong here in North America in general. You see even the grown man's overreacting for nothing sometimes. I don't know.
Well, that might be called first world problems too. But again, like there's a very, very, very good course by Projeto Espiritizar as well. It's divided in 3 modules. Each module has 6 video lessons, and it's called, they don't have it in English, just in Portuguese, and it's called Children and Youth for the Practice of Virtues, educando crianças e adolescentes para a prática das virtudes. There are 3 modules. And in module 2, they explain how we can help change our kids. I mean, how we can help our kids change, because we can't change them. The tendencies that our kids have, we have. They bring tendencies like we bring, right? They are dressed as a cute little kid, but they're gonna grow up. So the best way we can help them is, first of all, to observe and identify their tendencies, both good and bad. The good ones, we help them improve. The bad ones, we're gonna try and help guide them to a better way. So if you can observe tendencies, for example, I observe in both my kids so much pride that it is, I look at them and I think, you're gonna suffer. But, you know, like if you can identify that Lucas is very intense or something like this, the first step, we can't help them if we are denying their negative traits. So the idea is not to judge or punish at all, just to observe with love and identify and think, how can I help this kid change? Because again, like I said, if my kids don't learn to humble themselves a little, they're gonna suffer. I don't want my kids to suffer.
You're the same way.
So judging them and looking at them and say, you're too proud, you have to be humble, that doesn't do anything. What does that do? Nothing. Maybe I can help them in situation. I can help them because they're older. When they're smaller, suggest behaviors, right? Instead of not wanting to share and hogging, we can suggest, why don't you share this with him and he will share that with you. So there are many ways we can go, but it's not by talking them down and judging and saying, you have to share, you can't be selfish. It's not by calling them selfish that we're going to help them change, right? It's by suggesting something positive. And we can only do it if we pay attention and observe their tendencies with the idea of helping and not judging. And it's a very, very difficult exercise.
And when they have the tendency we also had and didn't overcome. How
See,
can
we
help them overcome?
we can work on it together. Ta-da!
Well, we're going to say something. Well, about the children, for example, when she say, we observe to them, right? When some children, they are very overreact, you say. I don't know how much overreact, but when they go to school, for example, or preschool, so the teacher observe them. And sometimes when this is it's extreme, because they are children, right? And I don't know what extreme. Sometimes the teacher, they advise to see the doctor. Doctor recommend the specialist, a psychology for children. This is a good point, because we never know, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes parents need help with the children. Mm-hmm. And when they grow up, it's more hard, right? More hard.
Yeah, just one observation is, again, we can always guide and suggest. However, I would not use the word fix. Just semantics. Just semantics.
Improve.
Because just semantics, because they're not broke. Right? That's one word that I heard a few times from my ex-husband. Our kids, when we use words like fix, we lead them to believe that there's something wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with them. They are a spirit in evolution. Our role is try and help them become better people, not fix something that is broken. Because if we're going to think like that, have we fixed ourselves? So it's just semantics. It's just, let's try to use a different word so we don't put in our kids' minds that they're broken.
You know.
Yeah, it's just different words, but I understand your idea.
Yes.
So the big problem in our culture is that we are conditioned from childhood of feeling. We tend to hide, deny, suppress or repress our feelings instead of recognizing and explaining them the way we do in the reflection of feelings. So the reflection of feelings is an exercise. Okay, it's a suggestion of exercise for us to do with our kids. So in our society, we are usually told to hide, to suppress. You can't be angry. You can't be frustrated. You can't be proud. You can't feel like that. You shouldn't feel like that. The problem again is not feeling. The problem is what we do with the feeling. So when we tell our kids they can't be proud, they can't be angry, the moment they realize they're feeling that, they're gonna feel like they're wrong, that they're broken, that there's something wrong because they can't feel that.
It's because
It's not that they can't, they can, and they will, and we will.
It's because the emotions are natural, right? The emotions come to us because we are human.
Exactly.
But the point is how we're going to handle, you know? I can get mad, but I have to have out control. You know?
Exactly. And again, as adults, we can understand that a lot easier than children can, or even teenagers can, with hormones. So hence the suggestion of the feelings reflection for parents, and reflect with their kids. Try to pull out of their kids how they feel about a certain situation. You were angry. Why were you angry? How did you feel? Do you think you could have handled it differently? So recognize the feeling. I recognize I felt that way, and there's nothing wrong with feeling that way. So try to get them to understand the difference between feeling and acting on your feelings. Right?
Don't is right or wrong. Yesterday, for instance, Lucas was really sad for something that to him was important, but it's not really, you know. Then I try to say,
Well,
Lucas,
not really for you.
let me explain, because it's part of what makes him overreact. He goes upstairs to wake William, but William is coming for a different fuso. It's like 9 hours of different. He was sleeping at afternoon, and Lucas go there, try to wake what he wants, and come back crying. Second time he go there, try to wake William, and come back crying a lot. I go under the sofa and say, I wanna die.
Or react like an African American.
No one loves me. I wanna die.
Makes me crazy, man.
And I never saw a child of 6 years old saying, I wanna
They're
die.
overreacting this way.
I'm sorry, but it's too much for me. But I understand that to him is real intense. So I sit down beside him and say, Lucas, Daddy needs to sleep. I will wake him up in 2 hours. Relax. Let's watch some TV. No one loves me, Mommy. No one loves me. Everything was wonderful before. Everything was fine. We were having fun.
Yes,
And I say,
Gabriel comes up with those things whenever he's being told off. Quando ele tá levando bronca, toda vez que ele tá levando bronca, o assunto muda e aí vira na escola, ninguém gosta de mim. Aí eu falo, peraí, não era esse o assunto. Vamos voltar?
yes, and it's like you work more. It's not work. I'm always studying, but I have to study. But I love you more. I study because I love you. And then he, and forgot to watch TV. But I was a little scared because I was so overreacting for something small that we as adults can understand he needs to sleep.
So it's again not dismissing, not
Yes.
like, oh, stop it.
To me it's small, but to him it's real big.
So, you know, like,
I feel months ago.
not dismissing and not encouraging. Like acknowledging that you understand he feels extremely frustrated, and maybe if we think about these reflections of feelings, maybe what you can do is try to get him to express the feeling. It's not like I wanna die. It's like, how are you feeling? Are you sad? Are you? So another problem is to impose our feelings to others. Say sorry. Say that you love me. You should be happy with everything I do for you. Don't be angry. So when kids hear these messages, they come to the conclusion that their own feelings, their original feelings, are unacceptable, wrong, or even that they don't exist, right? Yes, Sophie?
Is it tablet that it's going down?
Oh, sorry, I don't have the charger. Do you know if your mom sent the charger? Because I don't know. It might be in the backpack. Do you want to take a look?
I'll try.
You try? If you can't, we can try and help you, okay? Sounds good. So the whole, mainly with siblings, like the whole say you're sorry, the get well t-shirt, get along t-shirt. So every time we force them to feel, right? So just the whole say you're sorry example, because you might be thinking, but shouldn't my child say they're sorry? So, for example, at home with two extremely proud children, what happens is, I don't want to say I'm sorry, because that means I'm going to have to admit that I was wrong. So at home is, you have to, but it can be on your own time, whenever you're ready. And then every 5 minutes I ask, are you ready? Are you ready to say sorry? Do you recognize that what you did was not good, that you didn't treat the other one the way you would like to be treated? So once the anger goes down, then they do say sorry, and they actually mean it. Because when you force kids to say sorry to other kids, they're just saying it because you're telling them to, not because they feel sorry or because they understand they shouldn't have done that. It's just because they're being told to do it, right? But if we give them time for the anger to go down, they will actually mean what they say.
It's not working.
The kids learn to stop sharing their feelings because they can't tell that to people. Because again, if you're being if you're being told you can't be angry, you can't be jealous, you can't this, you can't that, I stop sharing my feelings. If I tell my mom that I am jealous of my sibling and my mom gets angry with me because I was jealous, I am not going to say anymore. I stop sharing.
Yeah.
If I'm going to be judged, if I'm going to be told off, I don't want to share anything, right? So, and without knowing what to do with these feelings, the kids hide them within themselves and hide from other people. Or they deny their feelings completely. They isolate themselves in fear, in worry, shyness, anger, or guilt. Like I feel guilty for being jealous. I can't share with anybody. I can't tell anybody because then I'm going to be judged. I'm not going to be a good girl or a good boy. Right?
Lucas was like, Mom, do you have any secrets? And I say, wow, not for you. Maybe some things I didn't tell you, but remember, I really don't have secrets for you. Okay. I didn't ask anything. And then later on, like hours later, he say, Mom, I have secrets. And I say, wow, we are not supposed to really have secrets. You know, Mommy love you no matter what. Oh, Mom, you won't love me, Mommy. You won't love me if you know those things I keep inside my head. And I say, oh, but didn't ask him because it doesn't work this way. And like 2 days or 3 days later, he come and told me 2 big secret that is not, but inside him. And like weeks later, he's still, oh, Mommy, we don't have secrets anymore. That's like, okay, see, but I was again surprised because I don't know where this comes from because I and he have a really open relationship. We talk a lot. I made sure to express how much I love him and how much I like him every time. And especially because he usually is only with me, but I was surprised, you know, when reading it, it's like
a whole, I have no idea how much work they are. So this is where the whole reflection of feelings comes. So for example, instead of trying to pull from him what the secret was, maybe, why do you feel like it? Why do you feel Mommy wouldn't forgive you? Why do you feel Mommy would be angry? Or so then, secret or no secret, he would be sharing the feeling with you, right?
yeah, we didn't think this far.
You see him. Let's not go there.
No, but it's good. It's good in the next time because we'll be lots of next time.
I always say that, like, I got in touch with this material about 2 years ago. So Gabriel was already a preteen, and Clara she's very mature. So she was at the end of her second childhood. And if I had known half of this when my kids were younger, I am sure our relationship is good, but I'm sure our family would be a whole lot more harmonized than it is right now. So, you know, it is what it is. We do the best we can with what we have.
Yes.
All right. So, learning consequences. So this is extremely important, and this is what we were talking about before. Difference between consequence and natural here is extremely important because of the whole overreacting and punishing, right? And giving a punishment bigger than the crime, just to use an expression in English. So this focus teaches kids and youth to understand things, to think for themselves, and to be self-disciplined. The centralization in their inner motivation takes them to the development of inner control. So again, natural consequences. So instead of yelling at them when they do something wrong, sitting down, let's try to understand the feelings, let's try to understand the situation and the consequences. Sometimes it's just an isolated situation, but sometimes it's like a recurring thing. Every time I call my kid to come have dinner and my kid is on their tablet, they won't listen. What is that telling me? Something needs to be done about it, right? So what's the consequence of not coming when I call? So we're going to sit down together and we're going to talk about it. And we're going to figure out what would be a natural consequence. Not a punishment, but a natural consequence. And this goes back to the whole duty thing. In our daily routine in the house, when we ask the kids to do something that they are supposed to do, meals, shower, clean up their toys, whatever it is, it's one of their duties. They're supposed to do it. If they're not doing it when they're supposed to do it, actions have consequences, right? So let's sit down, and what's the natural consequence? If the kid's old enough, if not, so if mom calls you for dinner and you don't come in, let's be reasonable, 5 minutes, then no tablet after dinner, no tablet the next day, or something like this. Because why is it a natural consequence? Because if the tablet, if the electronic, whatever it is causing the child not to listen to you, let's remove the cause. Right? And I give this as an example because that's something I realized was happening in my house. We do our gospel at home every Sunday evening. And Sunday we get home after the Spiritist Center. We do a bit of cleanup, we do whatever we want to do, and then usually we just relax, sit down, and watch a bit of TV. What did I realize? Our gospel is at 8. If I allowed them to be on electronics until, let's say, 7:30 or something, they did not want to stop for the gospel. Because I want to watch cartoon, I don't want to do the gospel at home. So I sat down, like, because you are on electronics, you don't want to do something that is good for our family to do. So from today on, 7 o'clock, 0 electronics. Let's draw, let's play, let's do whatever. Take an early shower, wash your hair, I don't care what. Because when it's 10 to 8, everybody's calm, everybody's fine. Nobody's worried about, oh, I won't have enough time to finish my video, or I want to finish my game, I don't want to do the gospel. So I just eliminated the cause. The cause of not wanting to do it was because they wanted to finish a video, they were on electronics. Let's eliminate the cause. So we stop at 7, that gives you 1 hour to be angry, frustrated, or whatever. right? Usually half an hour is more than enough for them to let it go. And at 8 o'clock, everybody's happy. And we sit down and we do it, and there's no complaints and no fights. So it wasn't like a one-time brilliant idea that fell from the sky. We tried a few different things first. Nothing was working. This one worked. Let's keep it. But they were part of the solution. They helped come to this conclusion. So they can't complain about it. So the consequence is to take away a perk from your child for a certain period. It's not a punishment, but it's educational, because having a perk, not having a perk, they are invited to think why they don't have the perk, right? So for example, if mommy calls, you are on your tablet, you don't come in 5 minutes, the next day, no tablet. So that's gonna teach them that why don't they have the tablet today? Because they didn't listen yesterday. So that's a natural consequence. Do I want to go without my tablet tomorrow? No. So when mom calls, I'm gonna go. It's the same thing that God does with us when He takes something that we made a bad use of. When we think about Spiritist literature, we have read in books where we've read cases of people, for example, who didn't use well their intelligence. Next incarnation, they come back with some kind of mental health problem that actually stops them from using their total mental capacity. It's the same thing, right? It's just to teach us the consequence of not using our free will well. Right? It's a natural consequence, not a punishment. It's just a consequence of our own actions.
Yeah, so just about to say something. So I don't have no children more on my own, but I have just one, he grew up now. But I'm working with children. They need a routine. Like example she was saying, is good because she has a routine at home. And she explained to them, if they don't do this gonna happen, right? It's not a punishment because this is not right. In education here, they don't use this word. We know apply that. This, but a routine or schedule is important in the house. So I know another experience, another cases with families. So the mom, children manipulate the parents. Mm-hmm. This is cannot happen. This is cannot be happen because you have to show.
I like your smile.
You have to show. In good way, right? You are the boss at home. Mm-hmm. You are the father. Because in other way, for example, if I have a small son, he's telling me all the time what I have to do. It is like I am the child and he's my father. Mm-hmm. This is, you have to see that. So yes. I work a long time with children. And we, at the child care or school, we have put the limit to the children. And we have to use, strategies. Strategy is very important. You can say no without saying the word no. You use strategies. You have to try to find strategies with them, right? So that's why this is I would say, right? Because a routine is very important. Mm-hmm. And you have to do a schedule at home. At that time this, at the time this. At the end, go to bed. At that time, get a shower. Go to bed. Book up before go to the bed. It's good. It's very good habit. Read the book. The parents read the book. So we have to invest the time with the children because parents are parents. It's not easy. It's not easy, but it's not impossible.
Definitely not.
So I don't know if you're gonna finish, but I have to go.
Yeah, no, we have to.
Yeah, we're gonna finish, or you have to take more time to finish.
No, I think it's way past our time.
Okay, I'm gonna wait to finish because, but this is that's why I told you, right? I have a child already. He's married, but I'm working on my life with children. And children limit and need a routine. And you need to know you are the boss at home, not them. This is really wrong. Okay?
I'm just saying how many slides we still have. Yeah, now we have to.
I'm gonna go.
Okay, so a lot of food for thought. But yeah, it's not easy, but definitely not impossible, and we can always improve, right?
You know, in an extreme, it's just extreme, right? Just I talking like extreme. Somebody say one day, was an experience, I think was in the real life. So the parent never guide the child. He don't know how to do it, right? Maybe because now in the present, in this society, we can find many help everywhere. With the social worker, with the people from school, you can find it, even free, I tell you, free, they can help you. This is a good thing. So, and then the parent, they cannot guide the child. Never teach them. If they do something wrong, they never explain it's wrong because that, and that. Give explanation to them is good because they understand everything. Mm-hmm. You know, even I have my grandchildren. Since they was children, very small, they have one. They have 8 and the other one 7 or 6. I talk to them.
Almost.
If you sit
Almost.
with them,
We're just
talk
gonna do
to
the final
them.
prayer.
They understand. And
Can
you
you
say,
do that now?
why if you do this or you do that, what's gonna happen? Because they are manipulated. They are special for money. When he grew up, he went to a jail because
He had no limits.
yeah, and they after that
Don't learn consequences.
you know what happened? When the parents come to sit to the jail to him, the son they tell them, I am here because you fault. You never teach me. This is extreme, right? But this is a good example. I think it's real life. But this is the point. You know, we are the boss. You know, I just have one boy. So and sometimes I say I can die happy because my son is a good boy. He's a good father. But even we have struggled through the.
Oh yeah.
His father was alcoholic in his life. You know, but my son is a miracle. I tell him and tell many people you know, because he's a good man now. He has a theology, bachelor in theology. He helped people in the institution where he was. But he's a miracle. But this is exception because you know the signs say the parent alcoholic, children alcoholic because the genetic, you know.
Yeah,
But it's not true.
No,
not only that happens.
No, but there's the spiritual side as well.
Yeah.
There's a lot more behind it.
This is side I am learning now.
Not just
I am here
genetics.
for learning this spiritually, you know, theory or something. But this is my case, you know. But this is only I know, you know. And then we have to teach them. I have to go.
Okay, let's do our final prayer.
Thank you so much. It was good.
No problem. To God, on how we raise our kids, on how we see other people's kids. Thank you very much for the opportunity to reflect together, to exchange experiences,